I've spent my career in tax working with business owners and real estate investors and entrepreneurs who are trying to build wealth. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: the less you know about taxes, the more you are going to owe. This isn't theory. I've seen entrepreneurs lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, not because they weren't making money, but because they didn't understand the basics of how to manage their money in their tax situation. And so today, I want to share my no BS truths about taxes that every good business owner needs to understand. My name is Matt Bontrager, and I've been a CPA and tax advisor for 10 years, and I'm the owner and founder of TrueBooks, a CPA firm in Vegas where we specialize in tax planning, accounting, and bookkeeping, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs pay less in tax so they can keep more of what they're earning. Something I see online that drives me insane are dumb scammers pitching outrageous strategies and encouraging people to take action on them. Sometimes what they say is technically true, but almost never does it apply to the masses. And if it does apply to you, it still is going to require documentation, strategy, and clean books to actually hold up. And that's the part that they leave out because the tax law is nuanced. And what works in one person's very specific situation can backfire if you try to copy it blindly. And that's how people get in trouble. So sure, listen, take notes, but do not implement anything until you run it through a professional who knows your numbers and your situation. And that leads me to my next point: documentation. One of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs make isn't about taking deductions. It's about documenting them. And a lot of people think tax planning is about finding these clever write-offs, but the reality is most deductions are already allowed by the tax code. The problem is when the IRS comes knocking, the question isn't, was this deductible? The question is, can you prove it? Can you prove that you had a business use behind this? And wealthy business owners and their teams know this. That's why they track everything: invoices, receipts, logs, and they document the business purpose. They keep their bookkeeping clean and current. And I'll tell you, I've seen six-figure deductions completely thrown out and disallowed by the IRS, not because they weren't legal, but because the documentation wasn't there to back them up. And so the takeaway here is simple: deductions matter, but documentation is what makes them real. And if you want to keep more of what you earn, start by tightening up your records. Now, another trap I see entrepreneurs fall into all the time is confusing profit with cash flow. Your P&L might show that you made $1 million this year, but on paper, you're crushing it. But if at least some of that money isn't sitting in your bank account, you're not actually in a position to cover payroll, make your next hire, or reinvest into your growth. The IRS doesn't care about your cash flow. They tax you on profit, even if that profit never hits your bank account. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get blindsided, is they owe taxes on income they didn't actually have available to them. Now, wealthy entrepreneurs don't make this mistake. They obsess over the timing of the money. When the cash actually comes in, expenses are recognized. When will the taxes be due? And that's why cash flow statements matter just as much as the P&L, because profit might look good on paper, but cash flow is what keeps your business alive. Now, here's something people don't realize. Well-off people get audited all the time, and most of the time they come out fine. Why? Because they play defense before the audit even happens. They don't avoid deductions out of fear. They take every deduction that they're legally entitled to, but they also keep immaculate records to back it up. They prepare their documentation as if the audit is inevitable, as if it's going to happen. Meanwhile, the average entrepreneur avoids deductions that they're scared to take because they think that the IRS will question them, and that fear can cost them thousands of dollars every single year. Audit proofing doesn't mean being conservative. It means being prepared in the event that someone comes and asks questions. And wealthy entrepreneurs know that the real way to win the tax game is to take what's allowed and make sure you can defend it in the event that you're questioned. And finally, the number one mistake I see over and over again is entrepreneurs or well-off business owners thinking their CPA is the tax strategist or their advisor, when the reality is most CPAs are focused on compliance work. They make sure that their returns are filed on time and correctly, and that's important. But that's compliance. That's not strategy. The strategist is going to look ahead. They design your entity structure. They run tax projections. They create strategies to reduce your bill before the year even ends. And now well-off business owners don't confuse the two. They hire someone who can do both. You need someone to do compliance and you need someone to do strategy. And that's the advisory gap. And it's one of the biggest reasons the wealthy will consistently pay less in tax while everyone else feels like they're getting cheated or crushed on their tax bill. So if you want to keep more of what you earn, you can't just have somebody filing your taxes. You need to have somebody plan for them. So here's the recap. Stop taking advice from tax hacks and actually hire a professional. Deductions only matter if you can document them, and profit on paper means nothing if your cash flow is broken. Audit proofing isn't fear, it's preparation, and that's why it's worth having a professional on your side. Tax filing and advisory should work in tandem. Compliance keeps you legal, advisory keeps you wealthy, and keeps the bank account growing. And at the end of the day, wealthy people don't win because they have secrets. They win because they build profitable businesses first that will generate cash flow, and then they stay educated enough through the process to ask the right questions and hire the right team to execute. That is the playbook. If you found this helpful, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video, Crash Course for Entrepreneurs on how they can better understand their business finances. And if you're ready to take this a step further, check out the link in the description or book a free call with us over at TrueBooks. We'd love to help turn strategies into real savings for you that actually work for your business. And until next time, I appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next one.